Welcome back to The Truth is Viral. I'm your host, Bob Powell, and you'll notice that there's no fancy music in this episode. So my apologies go to my dear friend James, also known as Magatron, the 80s bass legend. For some reason, GoogleTube has decided that despite the fact that I've provided James' release twice now, they're not going to monetize my videos as long as that music is on there, so no music. That's okay though. It's the information that's important, right? And with that in mind, let's see if they have a problem with me just talking to my next guest. And this next guest is a very special one indeed. His name is Reza Kahlili, and he was a CIA spy embedded in the Iranian Revolutionary Guard. And what he has to say in this half-hour interview will shock you. In part one, Reza talks about the secret negotiations that the Obama administration has been holding with Iran in order to get them to stop enriching uranium. But it may be too late, because Reza also says that the Iranians have been pursuing a parallel program in which they did manage to buy nuclear weapons on the black market. So they already have them. Now, linked at the end of part one, in part two, Reza tells us about, he's an Iranian national, by the way. So Reza tells us about how religion drives the foreign policy of Iran. And it doesn't matter how powerful the United States or Israel are, or how many nuclear weapons that we have. Conventional wisdom would say Iran won't possibly attack the United States, would annihilate them. Well, the Iranians don't think like that. They're a theocracy, and they're driven by their religion. And they feel that when hostilities start, the 12th Imam Mahdi, will arise from his well and will supernaturally sweep the enemies of Islam before him. So they don't care about Israeli nuclear weapons. They don't care about U.S. nuclear weapons. And even in a secular world, they've got a plan that would render that advantage neutral. And Reza talks about that too. It's called an electromagnetic pulse. It's something that the Iranians can do right now. They've been practicing it, and they're ready. When hostilities begin with Israel, that's when you need to get your bug-out bag. Welcome back to The Truth is Viral. I'm your host, Bob Powell, and today we have a very special guest on the show. This man has risked his life when he served in the CIA's Directorate of Operations as a spy in the Iranian Revolutionary Guard. He's a counterterrorism expert who currently serves on the Congressional Task Force on National and Homeland Security. He's the author of an award-winning book called A Time to Betray, and he regularly appears on national and international media as an expert on Iran and counterterrorism in the Middle East. It's my honor to welcome a truly brave man to The Truth is Viral. This is Reza Kahlili. How are you doing today, sir?
Well, thanks so much. Thank you for having me. It's great to be on your program.
Hey, well, I really am honored, because just this past weekend, some information that you brought out of Iran has turned into what a lot of people are calling President Obama's October surprise. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yes, actually this goes back to February of this year, when I initially revealed that there were secret negotiations going on between the Islamic regime and the President Obama's administration, where there was a preliminary agreement where U.S. would recognize Iran's right to peaceful enrichment, nuclear energy, and it would announce that there is no military dimension to the nuclear program. These were the demands by the Iranians. And so the negotiations were discussed on the facts that Israel wants to attack, that President Obama is standing in front of it. And if you look back, you'll see after the February, and when I reviewed that initial information, we had General Dempsey coming out and saying that Iran is a rational regime, is not after the nuclear bomb. We have 16 U.S. intelligence agencies coming out with an assessment, just as Mr. Netanyahu then was traveling to U.S. to talk to President Obama about the Iranian nuclear program, that Iran was not after the nuclear bomb. So they met their conditions. The U.S. counterparts met their conditions, and then Iranian supreme leader met his, which was to come out and say that the nuclear bomb is against Islam and it's a great sin, and we have no intention on having it. So those negotiations continued on with, as I revealed, on October 4th, and then with an update on October 18th in Washington with Iranian surrogates and agents coming here for talk, and then the October 4th revelation on the Doha Qatar meeting around October 1st, where 3 U.S. representatives of President Obama's administration met with the Iranian counterparts, including Dr. Ali Akbar Velayati, the ex-foreign minister, and the close associate on international affairs to the supreme leader. By the way, he's wanted by the courts in Argentina for the Buenos Aires bombing of Jewish Community Center in 1994. So again, there it was emphasized that an Obama presidency would be obviously much better for the Iranians because Romney would move closer to Israel. And again, it was President Obama that has stood in front of Israel not to attack Iran. And then they hashed out and urged for an announcement, some kind of announcement before the U.S. elections on a partial enrichment halt and a successful negotiation which would boost the re-election chances of President Obama. Khamenei has made the demand that he wants written guarantees of all the elements of the agreement before he allows the Iranians to announce such. But the Iranian foreign minister, the spokesman for the foreign ministry, right after I reviewed and after the Doha meeting, which is still the White House has not verified, they announced that Iran is open for talks and even a partial enrichment. So it's all a plan, a grand plan for an announcement before the election, and I think my revelation kind of changed their game plan.
Well, let me ask you a question. Even if there is some type of deal in place, can we trust the Iranians to keep their part of the bargain, or are they just doing this to stall for time while they continue to pursue nuclear weapons?
Well, that's a great question. You see, the regime has done this masterfully for over 3 decades. They've given the runaround to the West, keeping in talks, providing hope while continuing full force with the nuclear program. And if you see from the time President Obama took office, at that time Iran had barely enough enriched uranium for 1 nuclear bomb. Today they have for 6. At that time they were only limited to 3.5% enrichment, which is for peaceful uses. Today they're enriching at 2 sites to 20%, which was a major breakthrough in 2010 when they announced it. Going to 20% is only 4 to 6 weeks away from weaponization. So they have progressed significantly with both the nuclear program and the missile program. And so no, they're not going to bind themselves to any agreement. And if you look at the details of agreement I've put out there, it's just basically a sham of having some sanctions removed, a partial halt while they continue on with the nuclear program.
Okay. Earlier this month, you wrote that Iranian scientists are nearing completion of a nuclear warhead, having already successfully tested an implosion system and neutron detonator at a secret site while enriching uranium to weapons grade, which is what you were just talking about. Now, you've also written in the past that the Iranians have former Soviet bloc weapons in their possession already from Kazakhstan. Isn't that right?
Well, yes, I revealed then that the Iranians have 2 nuclear warheads, which they purchased from the former Soviet republics after the fall of the Soviet Union. And I provided several sources, one of them with inside knowledge within the State Department, another one within the Pentagon, that the U.S. is aware of that, and actually they believe these are workable bombs. But talking to my source in the Guard's intelligence, he said that there are doubts that they have the code, and the KGB might have pulled one over them. And nonetheless, the Iranians on themselves, the regime itself, is very close in achieving and arming the warhead with nuclear weaponry, arming their missiles with that. And basically the site that I reviewed. It's another nuclear secret site, and everybody should look into that. The IAEA and the intelligence agencies, they should immediately monitor this site, because what I heard from my source, and I put up all the scientists' names, and obviously the father of the Iranian nuclear program, Mohsen Fakhri's are working out of that site. They have successfully tested the neutron detonator, and this was verified by the IAEA with their suspicion of what was taking place in Parchin, which the government has refused to allow them to inspect while they're cleaning the area. So, you see, U.S. completed its Manhattan Project decades ago, in the 50s, 40s, in 3 years. The Iranians have been working with the current science and technology for over 2 decades. So it is logical to think that they have mastered the technology and they're only working on arming their ballistic missiles with nuclear warheads.
I wanted to say something to you guys. I've gained over 1,000 subscribers over this past summer, and that means that I must be doing something right. There was something that you saw when you watched one of my shows that made you want to see more. And there's a lot more truth to be told, and I'm going to give it to you. So beginning Monday, The Truth is Viral is going live at 11:59 Eastern Time, Monday through Friday, at www.livestream.com/TTIV live. I'm going to kick off that broadcast with my analysis of Benghazi Gate. And folks, there are things that I'm going to tell you that are going to make you very, very angry. For instance, the Secretary of Defense and Barack Obama were watching live video feeds. And yes, that was meant to be plural. They were watching more than one live video feed of the attack on the consulate. Not only that, but the SEALs that were fighting off the Islamist attackers had illuminated the mortar crew with their laser designators. They were waiting for the C-130 gunship that was circling above their heads to open fire and save their lives. Guess who was in the White House Situation Room that told the C-130 to stand down, just like he had told the SEALs to stand down earlier? This is a mess. And whether Barack Obama gets reelected or not, there are going to be a lot of questions to be answered. I'm going live. Oh, forgot to mention, those 2 SEALs, hoorah! They took out 60 of those terrorists before they were killed. That's a pretty damn good ratio. If they don't get the Medal of Honor for that, then there's really something wrong. Hoorah and Semper Fi, brothers. Hell of a job. Now, I'm going live for a couple of reasons. The first being because the news is just coming too fast, and it takes me up to 70 hours on this antiquated dinosaur of a machine to edit a 45-minute video. And that brings me to the second reason. Streaming a live show is going to be a lot less taxing on my computer than editing high-definition video. And until I can afford a replacement, I'm going to have to baby this one. I've got several interviews with some fascinating guests, like theologian Chuck Missler, the Nephilim and Pyramid researcher Patrick Heron, and even Nancy Nibiru later. And I'm going to upload those in a basically raw form. I just simply don't have the time or the ability to edit them to my usual standards. Like I said, this computer is about to go, and I really have to baby it. So to all of those who have gotten used to my graphics, I like to think that they're pretty good. I tried to be like the History Channel, but I'm just a one-man operation. It's just not going to work. I hope that you feel like I do, that it's really the information that's important and not necessarily the look. But no matter how much I baby this computer, it is going to fail sooner or later. Here, listen to my fan. Yeah, bad news. And when it fails, that'll be the end of the Truth is Viral. This is the only computer that I've got. And those of you that have been with me from the beginning know that I'm not in this for the money. But producing a newscast does take money. Gas, ink cartridges, HDMI cables, Skype subscriptions, computers, things like that. They're all necessary for running any business. And this literally is a business, even though I'm not making any money on it personally. Last year I spent $800 over what I took in producing this show, and so far this year I'm down $1,000 in a minivan. If you guys are unfamiliar with my financial situation, just click that link below. It's a train wreck. You'll find out who Bob Powell is and where he came from and why you should support the show. The point I'm trying to make, though, is that I can't do this alone. Okay, I need your help to save lives. If you are struggling, I don't want your money. Believe me, I know what it's like to live on hot dogs and beans and toasted cheese sandwiches and tomato soup. That's not the point. There are a couple of people out there, though, probably more than a few of you, that do have the ability to keep this show going, and I'm counting on you to help me spread the truth. Yeah, I've never charged a penny for people to watch my show. It always has been, and it always will be free. That's the way the truth should be. But if you are one of those who does have a few extra dollars jingling around in your pocket, please go to bobpowell.blogspot.com, and you'll find a couple of options up there on the top. The top button is for recurring donations. You can give me $5 a month, which is like, what, the price of a cup of coffee, and or $20 a month, or one-time a $100 donation. Or the button below that, you can make a donation in any amount one time. And it will be gratefully accepted and used to fix this gear. Now, Alex Jones recently raised $500,000 with his InfoWars money bomb. And he's going to use that money to move into a bigger studio and hire more researchers. Good for him. I'm just going to stay here in my garage studio and put out information that's every bit as timely and every bit as accurate, maybe even more so. And if I can get the $5,000 that I'm going to need to get my basic equipment up to par, then I'll be a very happy camper. Like I said, I don't need much. I'm not in this to get rich. I'm just trying to keep the truth alive. And if something happens to this computer, Truth is Viral's done. Thank you to those of you that have contributed so far. You recently paid for a Skype subscription and an HDMI cable. Thank you very much. When I was stranded in Canada, too, you guys really saved my bacon, and I'll never be able to thank you so much for that. You guys truly were heaven sent. But even if you can't afford to support the show monetarily, I still need your help, okay? I need you to share the show in every forum that you frequent. Notice, every forum that you frequent. They'll break down one of these days. Facebook it, tweet it, Reddit it, stumble upon it, whatever. You know, just get it out there. You may be awake, but I guarantee you that there's somebody that you love, a father, a mother, brother, sister, whatever, that is not awake. They don't know the truth. And you owe it to them to wake them up, because things are happening, and they're happening fast. You know, I just want to take 30 seconds and tell you why I am doing this show. On January 23rd, 2012, my daughter died. She died without knowing the Lord. It's my fault. I have to live with that guilt every single day. I can't do anything about that. But I can continue to speak out. Maybe I can save somebody else's daughter. Somebody else's son. I made my little girl a promise. I wasn't going to abandon or neglect or fail to tell anybody else. That's one promise I'm going to keep.